the quadratic formula. So if we have an equation in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, we can actually use a formula to solve this equation, this quadratic equation. And that formula is x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, where a, b and c are the coefficients in your quadratic equation. And we'd want to use the quadratic formula only if we're having trouble factorizing the quadratic equation. If you can factorize it, you should solve it like that, but if you can't, you should use the quadratic formula. So let's have a look at an example. X squared plus 3x plus 1 equals 0. So let's use the formula to solve it. So we know x equals minus b, well, in this case, a is equal to 1 because it's the coefficient of x squared, b is equal to positive 3, and c equals 1. So x equals minus b, so minus 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 3 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 1, all over 2 times a, which is 1. So we get minus 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared is 9, minus 4 times 1 is 4, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So x is going to equal minus 3 plus or minus root 5, 9 minus 4 is 5, all over 2, and there's our final answer. So you can think about the plus or minus giving two answers as minus 3 plus root 5 all over 2 and minus 3 minus root 5 all over 2 as the two answers to the quadratic equation. Let's look at another one. 5 squared plus 6x minus 2 equals 0. So let's go ahead and use the quadratic formula where x equals minus, well, a is equal to 5, b is equal to 6, and c equals minus 2. So x equals minus b, so minus 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 6 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 5, times c, which is minus 2, all over 2 times a, which is 5. So we're going to get minus 6, plus or minus the square root of 6 squared, which is 36, minus, now here I didn't include the minus, I'm going to do everything else multiplied and then minus. So I'm doing all this and then going to minus it all from the end. So 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times minus 2 gives us minus 40, all over 2 times 5, which is 10. So we're going to get minus 6 plus or minus root. Now 36 minus minus 40 is 36 plus 40, so it's going to give us 76 over 10. Now we can simplify our surd, where 76 equals 4 times 19 all over 10, and we're going to get minus 6 plus or minus, well, root 4 is 2, root 19 over 10. Now every term here is divisible by 2, so we get minus 3 plus or minus root 19 all over 5. One more example. Minus 3 squared plus 8x minus 2 equals 0. So we'll solve with the quadratic formula where a equals minus 3, b equals 8, and c equals minus 2. So we're going to have x equals minus b, so minus 8, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 8 squared, minus 4 times a, so minus 3, times c, which is minus 2, all over 2 times a, which is minus 3. So we're going to get minus 8 plus or minus root 8 squared is 64. And again, going to multiply everything here first, then subtract it. So 4 times minus 3 gives us minus 12. Minus 12 times minus 2 gives us plus 24. All over 2 times minus 3 is minus 6. So we have minus 8 plus or minus root. Now 64 minus plus 24 is just going to be 64 minus 24, which is going to give us 40 over minus 6. So we're going to have minus 8 plus or minus, this third can be simplified. So we're going to have root 4 times 10 all over minus 6. So minus 8 plus or minus 2 root 10 over minus 6. Now we can divide everything here by minus 2. So we're going to be left with 4 plus or minus root 10 over 3. So dividing everything by minus 2. So dividing this term by the minus doesn't change the fact that it's a plus or minus.